Fuck.
No, we're not starting the episode like that.
Well, Asher's not here with us.
Casey, that is a terrible way to start a podcast.
Well, I couldn't cuss on the last one.
You still did.
Well, I know, but I tried not to. We are just all by ourselves today.
Oh my gosh, it's like I can look on your face and you were saving that up.
I totally was. I've been saving it up since last episode. I don't think I've sworn one time since last episode.
Wait, off the mic or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait. No. Yeah. Off the mic.
What are you talking about?
On the mic, I meant. All right. That's obviously ridiculous. No one is ever going to believe that. So anyway, but that will also set up any listeners who had any thoughts about coming on here and what kind of podcast we were. Because,
what kind of podcast are we?
We're the kind of podcast where we meet people and we talk about, oh, hey, yeah, nice to meet you. And then somehow it gets, what do you do on the road? Oh, we're podcast. And then at some point they talk about their church involvement or whatever else. And then they're like, oh, we're going to listen to your podcast. And we're like, oh,
please don't.
No. You'll never. This will be the last time we ever.
It's the worst advertising
see
ever.
Here. Whatever. So I just figured I'd get it out of the way, and it's very obvious that this isn't a podcast for some people.
I did notice this last week how many times we met people and what do you do and and we tell them podcasting somewhere in there, and then they're like, oh. I'll listen. Wait, I got really sidetracked. Sorry.
I did too, because that road noise sounded way closer than it has the entire time we've been here. Yeah. We'll talk about where we are in a second, but me too. That was like, is that car like coming up the road?
I know. It totally stopped my thought.
I can see.
But
your whole face just went zoom.
No, I was really, I feel really weird when you say you have a podcast and then don't listen, though. And it's almost like, don't put your hand in the cookie jar. They're going to go freaking listen to it.
Right. Because we actually had a kind of like a meeting like that. Not a meet. I meant we met some people this week
at all
at
these
a restaurant.
Mutual friends, from McCall. And it was...
Yeah, and it
was amazing.
I was going to say, we were just sitting at the bar with your brother in Walla Walla and having an amazing meal and just an absolutely amazing time at this awesome restaurant. And these people sitting next to us, we just kind of start, chatting back and forth, and then we find out they're from McCall, and they... and if you're listening right now, we're so glad you are. No, we just don't want you to be confused as to what type of people we are. Because, it usually comes up at some point, and then when you're asking, like, who do you know? Oh, yeah, we know them too. And where do you know that? And then it's like, it doesn't take long to kind of get around to, because I was a pastor at Donley Bible Church. And then people are like, oh, we're going to listen to your podcast because they think it's going to be one thing.
It's not safe.
Yeah. So we just wanted to get it like right out there. You're not liking the direction of this episode very much, are you?
I now understand why the drunk ex-pastors named it what they did, because it's like right. I don't think I'm ready to listen to that. And
yes,
and you just weed everybody out. But ours is like, we have nice titles on both. So
maybe we should just name this "Getting Fucking Lost with You."
No,
that doesn't do it either.
Can we move on?
All right. Well, I thought I was doing something good by starting off with a bunch of F-bombs.
No, because even I didn't enjoy that.
Oh, God. All right. Well, I'm not going to edit it out because, we don't do that.
I know you have all the control, and this is where I just throw my hands up and go, whatever.
Right. So where are we?
I actually don't know. I was working on finishing some of my courses while we were driving.
Yeah.
And not entirely sure where we landed. I know we're on the coast north of Astoria in Washington. But we are not at Olympics National Park yet, so we're somewhere in between. Other than that, I don't know.
We are just south of Olympic National Park, and we were staying in. We came over from Walla Walla to escape the heat. We talked about that last time, and we stayed a night with some friends of ours, Mark and Christy, and then
we didn't talk about being in Walla Walla though, and that's actually interesting because it got so bloody hot in Walla Walla, like 110.
Oh, it really did.
And we got to see my brother, and we got to see some friends, Danielle and her family, and but while we were there, it was so hot. Like I think I just felt sick the whole time,
like crazy hot.
Yeah, and
like seriously, like I think it got to 116 one day, which those are fucking Phoenix temps. I mean, that's what we got. That's what we came up to the PNW to get away from, was those kinds of stupid hot temps.
Yeah, and then we actually kind of got a little scary moment with our lithium batteries.
Yeah, they way overheated, and then I was like, oh yeah, well, and luckily I caught them before they exploded.
Jeez, yeah, because they're under my bed, my side of the bed.
Believe me, if they exploded, we'd both be gone. It wouldn't just be you. We'd go out together.
Okay. Anyway, gosh, this is such a morbid episode already. But we realized we just have to get away from this heat. We got we got to the West Coast as quick as we could. Because it just even Vancouver was like 20 degrees cooler than Walla Walla.
Yeah.
And got to see Mark and Christy there, and it was just unreal how different we felt. We're quite exposed to the heat with the way that we live because, if you punched really hard, you might punch through the wall. Like,
I certainly would.
I think you turned green there for a moment.
I would like it if that happened.
So it was. So we ended up over here, somewhere where I don't know where we're at, and it's been so much cooler. Oh my gosh!
Well, what I was going to say is that it was already cooler in Vancouver, Washington, which was awesome. And then we left there and started heading towards Olympic National Park, but I wasn't intending to go all the way in one day. We just thought, let's just go a couple hours, find a spot to stop, and then we'll, continue on after that, right? The next day or whatever. And we've been here for 2 days now, and we're thinking about staying another night. Because it's just kind of a cool, peaceful little dead end road that we found. And it doesn't have any signs on it, no parking or keep out or private property, like nothing. So no fences, no nothing else. We're like, well, I guess we're fine here. So, but we are off the road a bit, but you do hear vehicles go by, in the distance a little bit, but man, that one sounded like it was right there.
I was
maybe
like, is somebody coming up the road?
Maybe it was just extra loud or something. I don't know. Maybe. So we have all of our windows open. The breeze is blowing through. It's currently 66 degrees right now, which is
at like 1:15 in the afternoon.
Oh my God. And again, when we left Walla Walla at 1:15 and now we're at 66, that's a huge difference. It's
huge.
Been absolutely amazing.
Like I feel like a normal human being again. So.
Yeah, it's wild how the heat affects you like that.
Well, it's a combination. It's not just the heat. It was, you have to run the generator right now with where we're set up to run the AC. So you've got both of those things super loud, both of them. Well, especially the AC. And
that constant noise is just like
it grates at you.
Mind numbing.
And as soon as it goes off, it's hot again. Like it's just it's not keeping the cool in.
Yeah.
So it's just been a lot. I feel like we've kind of regained some energy being here in this spot. So
yeah, and and we are really not set up for extreme temperatures either way.
No.
So the high heat really affected our batteries, and was actually just borderline dangerous even, so good thing I caught it. But we were like, we got to get out of the heat, and we have to stay out of the heat,
Which Goldilocks over here doesn't really have a problem with that.
No,
because you are just like our camper.
Just right. And then extreme cold would do the same thing, and we wouldn't be under threat from our batteries blowing up, but they would stop working if it got too cold. So we can't be in really hot temps, and we can't be in freezing temps. We gotta like, this is a Goldilocks life, baby. And it's my cup of tea.
It's a lot to manage.
I'm a lot to manage.
Goldilocks.
I'm like, it's too hot. It's too cold.
If they could see your face.
I do like it just right. Yeah. So, okay, what are we drinking before we get too far into this episode? So, this is kind of fun today. We're trying something a little new flavor, at least.
I know you keep asking me the questions, and I don't have answers because you made the drink. So I don't know
what
it is.
But it's kind of a,
I'm a little nervous about this one.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd try something a little different here. Oh, by the way, you're hearing lots of like creaking and that kind of stuff. And the wind is blowing, not a lot, but just a little bit, and it's kind of blowing our awning around a little bit, but it's just super
kind
nice
of like
out.
little lapping against it. Yeah.
So I think we talked about before on an episode that we'd found this New Basin distilling company and it was just north of Bend, and I'm trying to remember now the name of it. No, it wasn't even. Oh, Madras. That's what it was. Madras, Oregon. And so they make these flavored or infused like vinegars to put into drinks. And so I thought, well, let's try a different one that we haven't tried before. So this is the lemongrass mint in a gin and tonic. So cheers. Let's give it. I don't think that sounds too off, right?
Oh, that's actually really good.
That's actually really good.
I wasn't sure if I'd like that.
I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's tasty. So, I did good.
You did do good. I was nervous about this one.
I think I put just a little too much in mine. Mine's just a little on the sweet side for what I like. I don't know about you.
No, mine was pretty good. I don't know. No, see how it goes down.
But we were talking about like, what are we going to drink on this episode? And I'm like,
what can you make with gin?
Yeah. I mean, we have our liquor cabinet sitting right here above my head, but it doesn't have a lot of room in it, and so we don't carry a large variety anymore. So we're a little more limited on the types of drinks that we can have. So from episode to episode, it's just going to be gin and tonic with a splash of this, gin and tonic with a splash of that.
No, I'm actually, I would like to get this stuff maybe for next podcast. I would love a whiskey sour.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That just sounds fun.
All right. I got to keep that. I got to make a little note on the iPad here, although I can't do it left-handed. So maybe we'll remember to do it later. Yeah, nobody can see. I'm restricted in my right-handed movements because of the microphone boom. That's all I'm saying that without describing it to the audience, so they're just like, okay. Going back to temperatures and stuff, though. I mean, this is one of those things where we keep hearing like everywhere that we are in a new and different place or whatever, where the temperatures kind of go nuts, like it's too hot, it's too, whatever else. Locals start talking about like, yeah, but this isn't normal. This is kind of this is not what it's normally like, or that kind of thing. And I'm like, I just feel like we hear that a lot nowadays.
Well, it reminds me of another conversation about gas prices. And everybody's like, what's going on? This is inflation and all this stuff. And I'm like, you guys do know that this happens every year, right? Around June, when everybody's going to start road tripping, the prices hike up.
There is no doubt gas prices have been crazy high from what they have been, though.
Yeah, but but they do it every year.
The
just
normal
a little bit
fluctuation curve, yes, but okay. I'm not talking about that though.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's It's just because it just comes. It feels like it comes out of nowhere, like the heat. It feels like it comes out of nowhere. But
okay,
but if
you are entirely missing my point. So let me just put the brakes on right there. I thought I could be a little more subtle about this, but I'm just going to have to come out and say it. I'm talking about climate change. That's what I'm talking about.
I figured you were, but I was talking about mindset.
You were talking about gas prices and mindset.
Mindset about how we...
Jesus Christ. Maybe we should talk a little bit ahead of these episodes so that you don't just come right out and contradict
The only note there is bullshit. This segment is called bullshit.
I know, but this could be segue into a topic. You don't know what I'm trying to do.
Climate change was not a topic on our
I know,
thing.
but I just thought about it.
Oh my gosh. So how in the world was I supposed to know that you were going into a topic? We are moving from bullshit to topic.
We're in sync. We're supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to read my mind, like I read yours. So unless I don't want to know what you're talking about or thinking, and then I pretend like I can't read your mind. But most of the time I can read your mind. So I expect you to do the same thing for me.
Can you read this?
Again, we don't have a camera set up yet, so nobody knows what you just did. I'm sure they can guess, though. No, but for real, doesn't it seem like we hear about, like we're hearing on a more consistent basis about how this temperature isn't normal around here. This isn't... Yep. This is a record high for this time of year, or this is a record high period, or my God, the fire season has started already, and
but it does this every year.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Okay, when you just said that, it made me think of Asher. He started picking up on your...
Jesus Christ.
You go, Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. I know
I don't
know if that's a curse anymore. It used to be like the worst curse, and now I don't know anymore. Whatever. So, you really don't think that there is are you a climate change denier? Is that what you're coming forward as right now?
No, I just like to put things in perspective.
Explain yourself. You're on the hot seat right now. Explain yourself.
I think it's more about the shift that our seasons have shifted, and they are more extreme everywhere. There's no doubt that this heat wave that came through is unbelievable. But I'm also, even though I can whine and complain about the heat, I've lived in a lot hotter. So it does feel abnormal up here, but...
You haven't lived in a lot higher than we experienced last week.
Yes, I have.
Not a lot. A few degrees.
No, honey.
Okay, what's a lot higher to you?
Regularly, we were around 119, 120. I even had I remember getting up to 126 that one summer. Like, it was stupid hot.
120 was like extreme even for Phoenix. So like hottest part of the summer, 115 to 118, something like that was, kind of average there. But that's fucking Phoenix. We were talking about, we were in Walla Walla, that.
Well, one thing I did notice is that everybody's AC units in their businesses were breaking. Well, they couldn't handle it. And I don't ever remember that being a regular, consistent thing in Phoenix.
Yeah, you know why?
Because they have big-ass air conditioners.
Yeah, because it was more norm there. So, Walla Walla isn't prepared for something that's temperatures that are way outside of the norm because they don't normally get that hot of temperatures. So their AC units don't have to handle that kind of thing. I'm trying to make a point that this isn't just a conversation anymore about, is climate change happening or whatever else. I feel like, and I feel it more as we're out on the road and we're going between these places. Like, I am experiencing it firsthand. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, I'm not actually disagreeing with you. I just think that sometimes we tend to remember or remember the comfortable aspects of our year and the parts that we look forward to. We get out of winter, especially. And so then when it comes, it is a shock to the system more than it is like, I mean, it could be regular temps and you'll still hear the same conversation that it's, oh my gosh, it's never this hot. And yeah, I mean, to some degree you're going to hear that, but I do think what I feel like I've observed over the last probably 5 years has been a shift in the seasons. So it seems like, and when I used to work for the running store, I was keeping track of all the winter temps because they earned more points if they ran in colder weather. So I was watching this trend happen where the colder temps weren't hitting at the same point every year. And they were shifting closer and closer to February rather than in January. But then summer felt like it moved further and further into September rather than feeling like fall was coming in September. So it just felt like there was this whole shift of the seasons by almost a month. And that was very noticeable to me. And it seemed like winter just seemed inconsistent. Like you couldn't count on these certain months being, these are the snow months, these are the cold months. Like I remember when we lived in Idaho. And then this is when it gets hot and you're like, your body was almost predicting it. I don't feel like that's happened in years. It feels very inconsistent.
So, I mean, I'm kind of curious because, I mean, you and I obviously have not talked about this.
No, it's obvious.
Which we did good, babe. We didn't have a conversation. We saved ourselves for the podcast.
I didn't know it needed to be talked about, honestly.
It just kind of, I mean, honestly, as we were just talking about how miserable it was last week, it kind of started, it like, got me going on a certain thought. But, I have a point in making that statement that, about, climate change and the effects of it. And, there's tons of data out there supporting it. Mm-hmm. And, that again, you don't, well, I think you can interpret some data, but it's hard to argue with like looking at temperature increases and, and things like that. Right. So anyway,
there were a lot of records broken, here in the PNW for this last heat wave for sure. So I'm coming in and I'm like, I'm kind of just wanting to make a statement about that. I wasn't even thinking we were really going to have much of a conversation about it. But then you kind of, came back with, more of a mindset kind of difference in it than what I'm saying. And I'm just curious. Does it have to be an either or? Can it be both?
Well, I mean, yeah, it can be both, but you weren't like denying what I was saying, that it was, I mean, it sounded like you were kind of denying what I was saying, though, that you didn't think that temperatures have been all that different. They've just been in a different place is all. Is that not what you're saying? Am I misunderstanding?
You know what? Honestly, I've been so stuck in my studies or recently, I am not paying attention to watching what the temps actually are right now in comparison to last year or whatever. But I do feel like every July we would hit this point where we were running our AC pretty hard. Those window AC things. Yeah. We were running them pretty hard, and we were just kind of managing keeping the house cool. And it has felt like that's always in July, and then right around the end of July and early August, we start to hear about fires. They just piggyback each other. So I feel like we're on the same time frame for that. Whether things are more extreme, I don't know, because I haven't actually looked at the temps. So, but it does seem like we were like cold temps, rain, all of that, so far into June. And then when it stopped, it was like, holy cow, it's hot out. It was like a either or. It wasn't some gradual thing where we warmed up to it. Yeah. It just felt, that part feels really extreme to me. But I can't actually talk to the data because I don't know the data. But I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying this kind of does happen this time every year. Now, are those temperatures hotter and it's happening? Probably. I just don't know.
So Funny enough, this actually leads into kind of another, thing. We didn't talk about this topic.
Oh, God.
Well, no, I mean, because it's very much in line with all this, but it's that, maybe our perceptions are all just complete and total utter bullshit. Maybe, maybe like, are you making that face because you're like, duh, or are you making that face like, what the hell are you saying? I don't know which way you're saying.
No, it's kind of like that's what I'm studying right now is perceived reality. So
yes,
I
know you are, and that's why because I'm thinking about climate change deniers. I'm thinking about conspiracists. Now all of a sudden, I mean, we talked about maybe talking about this a little bit, but ended up like neither one of us really felt comfortable talking about it. But even the whole Alex Jones trial that's going on right now, where he was denying that Sandy Hook Elementary massacre happened, and he's being sued by the families of the kids who were dead because of what happened there. All this kind of stuff. And it's like, how do people do this? I mean, how do people just just choose to believe one thing over another, Are
you really asking this question?
No.
No. I'm not, and I'm not saying that sarcastically.
No.
There actually is an answer for that.
You're starting to sound more like a guy. Oh, let me give you the answer. Let me mansplain it to you then.
Oh my God.
I might have like just a conversation about this, about my feelings, and you just want to solve it. But there is a part where it's like, don't bang your head against the mic. It's too loud.
I don't have a wall.
You just got to be careful. You might put your head through it. There's no insulation. No, but seriously, it's like, I mean, because we see like extremes of this all over the place. But you and I kind of had our own little moment here where we're like, we're not sure which side we're falling on in this, thing. All I mean on that is like the same side or a different side or something like that.
I think there's a lot to what we choose to clue into. And I can't speak to the same thing that you're speaking to when I don't know the data. So I haven't actually been following the temps other than you telling, we're driving and I can see it on the dashboard. So it's a bit of a, I don't want to say unfair conversation, but it kind of is because I'm just kind of I'm actually shooting from more feeling than on weather than you are. You actually know more. You're paying attention to the temperatures and
But here's the thing. I'm not.
Okay.
I think.
Why are either of us talking about climate change?
Because I think there's a bigger thing here that we're kind of sliding into. And that's because as we're sitting here talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I should probably know the data more before I start. And so why am I holding this? Well, because there's lots of, scientists out there and stuff that are saying it. And I'm like, and I tend to believe those guys. But if I'm going to have a conversation about it, I should probably know a little bit more than so-and-so said. I mean, which is fine. I mean, I'm totally fine looking at the plethora of, of climate scientists out there and them all saying we are headed in the wrong direction here unless we make some massive changes.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine going, I trust you. I believe you. You guys are the experts in this, all that kind of stuff. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying, I don't really have anything to add to the conversation. I don't have anything to add to it, even if I did know some stuff, because they're fucking scientists. They study this thing. But, I don't have any grounds to kind of, talk about it or try to convince anybody of anything different if I'm not looking at the base level kinds of data that's on it too. And I'm just kind of like, well, I think I heard that this was a thing. So like I said, I think it's kind of sliding into a different kind of thing too.
It reminds me of that conversation you had with a guy at one of the Harvest hosts that we were at. And it was about, around everybody's quitting working. Nobody wants to work.
Yeah.
And his perception of why nobody wanted to work wasn't based on anything other than, well, everybody's saying that.
Well, that's what I asked him. I said, so, I mean, what's your basis for believing that nobody wants to work? I mean, I'm hearing that a lot in lots of different places. What's your basis for it? And he's like, well, I don't know. I guess I just keep hearing it. And I keep seeing the help wanted signs everywhere, and I was like, yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm seeing those help wanted signs too, but I don't know anyone who's out of work currently who isn't actively looking for work. Like, and that's only just a couple of people. And it happened to be at the time, Sydney, another friend of ours. And really that was it. It was just like 2 people that were out of work. And I don't consider us out of work. We're self-employed. So we're working. We're just working for ourselves. We're not employed by another employer. But yeah, seriously, like those 2 people. And I was like, so where are this mass amount of people just sitting at home living off of government checks? Because that was kind of his thing, is the stimulus money got everybody sitting home. And I'm like, man, I sure as shit know that my stimulus money went to some bills and some groceries and really nothing else. And it didn't last very long.
Yeah.
I don't know how
we still had to sell our Jeep to get through COVID.
These guys are fucking brilliant if they have taken government stimulus money and stretched it out over a year and a half,
Oh no, it's been 2.5 years now.
Well, no, not since the stimulus money. It hasn't, no. But anyway, still. Yes, a very long time. We don't want to go to work. We're living on our leftover stimulus money. I'm like, are you really that fucking stupid? You really think, anybody can live like that? Anyway, whatever.
Well, I was just thinking too, I was talking about the winter temps that I used to track, but I had to track the summer temps too for the groups, because if it hit 110, we canceled the run.
I thought it was over 100.
Was it?
No, whatever. I don't care.
110
I don't care.
we canceled, and we had provisions for lower temps.
Okay.
And because we would start out really early in the morning, and
Sure.
And then we also had certain air quality conditions that we would cancel a run
for smoky seasons.
Yeah, and when I look at that in terms of not that I have the data in front of me, but tracking that was always July, and August was the smoke, because everybody was getting into those long miles right before a September or October marathon race. And so their really long runs were always hitting in smoke season, and they were having to go to treadmill. So the timing wise, I still feel like it probably is more extreme, but I don't know by how much. And that's what I'm saying. It feels like the seasons are more abrupt. There's not this sliding into the next season, but that's all just my personal perception. But I think that's actually a really valid conversation, though, is how we perceive reality and what we perceive as truth. I mean, you even said, hey, if all of these scientists in global warming or
climate change
are coming up with the same data, then I would tend to, go ahead and trust them. But there's other people that say all of these pastors or all of these politicians are all saying the same thing, so I can go ahead and trust them. So
yeah, I have a lot less trust for that crowd.
But you do, but somebody else doesn't.
No, I know that. I'm agreeing with you.
So it's all perceived reality, perceived truth. I was talking with my mom yesterday about truth, and that we were raised to believe that truth was just absolute. It is either is or it isn't. Kind of like fact or fiction, right? But truth isn't actually that. Truth is actually relative. It's relative to all the information that's come into your brain and your experience, how your brain has filtered it based on all of that criteria that sits there and filters through everything. And then you come out with a perceived reality, which is how you view the world, which is how you then, take in new information and then evaluate whether or not you think it's fact or fiction, or whether it's truth and whether you want to live by it. So it is a complicated world we live in, because we have so many more sources of information that we pull from, and we still pull from our personal experiences.
Yeah.
And so then we form a reality. It is really hard to weed through that stuff. There's some things that just seem like they're supposed to be black and white and normal, like, you don't do this, or you don't believe that, or whatever, but we don't. And we find that when other people don't just take those things as, common sense, that they're crazy. I mean, some of them are crazy.
Well, I think what's become evident is there's crazy across the spectrum.
Right, absolutely.
There's on all sides of every issue. You can, I mean, as soon as you start getting extremes, and then even as I say that, I'm like, but what's extreme? You know, who's saying what's extreme and what's not, and is it me that makes that judgment call? Is it me? You know, is it just the collective of society that if enough of us believe one way, then anybody that doesn't believe the same way that collective society does, they're the extreme, you know? And I'm like, yeah, but there are obviously some extremes, you know, people that do strange, chaotic, harmful, weird, you know, they believe strange, chaotic, harmful, weird things, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but in all of this, there's still this thing of like, yeah, but who says?
Yeah, because some of those crazy people invented electricity.
Yeah.
Some of those crazy people did amazing things that have get us right here, being able to use the technology that we are using to record our random thoughts.
Can I just say as a disclaimer really quick, we are not, promoting the fringe right now.
No, I'm what I would say to all of that though is that if we lived with more acceptance that our experiences, our history forms what we call reality. If we had that grace with each other, that all of us are doing that same thing, then we might not have to be so dogmatic that it's either this or it's either that. And there are some of those things out there, but that's what I think makes conversation with people beautiful, is that what I once thought looked like this, the world looked like this, I meet somebody and they show me that it actually looks like this from a different side, from a different view. And I think we can have that experience across a lot of different things. Our politics, the way we do our culture, which is really complex in America. It's so vast and yet it's so bottled up at the same time. Like it's, yeah. And we do it in our family structures. We do it in our faith practices. And yet whatever our experience is, that's it. That's,
Right.
I think, we have this term in American society, especially since COVID. Probably before then, but this is when I first started hearing it. Don't be a Karen. Right? And it's this, and you know it when you see it on TikTok. You're like, that's a Karen.
That's a Karen.
Yeah. And or you're in a store or whatever, and you see it, you experience it, you know what I'm saying, or you know what it is by what I'm saying. So, but that Karen is produced by saying that my experience with life, my worldview is the only way it can happen.
Right.
There is no other ways. There's no adjustment. It's like forged in stone.
Right.
And we're frustrated with that when we actually encounter someone who is so dogmatic about their personal experience being the only way it can be. So if we could live with more, fluidity in each other's life experiences, and we don't have to call out, all the bullshit all the time. Although I call it out all the time. When we drive, I'm like, why do people drive like this? I do not get why people in Spokane, this guy just starts backing up at a red light. He just starts backing up. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing?
He was in the middle lane.
In the middle lane, he's just backing up. And I'm like,
because he decided he wanted to turn left.
I have told people over and over again how many times I have seen people in Spokane just decide they didn't like the lane they were in, or their turn was back there behind them, so they just start backing up, and nobody believes me. And it's stuff like that where I go, what worldview do you have where this is okay? That wasn't my road story.
That wasn't your road story. It is a good place to take a break, though. So just take a quick break here in the middle of everything and talk about something exciting that you're working on. right now. So what are you working on? I mean, I know what you're working on, but
Yeah.
I'm asking you for the audience.
Yeah.
What are you working on, Jess?
This is actually started working on this project probably a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And really putting the final pieces together to it now. And I'm going to be launching it here September 1st. Actually, I already got it launched. Our group starts September 1st.
Got it. Yes, yes.
It is called the Unleashed Mastermind. And it is for women. Or
women in what category? I mean, like what kind of women? I'm trying to ask you things. I don't know why that didn't.
The woman kind of woman.
Jesus.
Okay, I'm sorry. It just struck me odd.
I tried to tee you up a softball
here. Actually, this is for the whole purpose of this mastermind is to bring women together for 7 months. And every month we go through a different pillar that is going to lead us at the end of the 7 months to a personal liberation. So we're going to untangle a lot of those stories that we have about ourselves, about life, that have been, a bit programmed into us by how we've lived up to this point.
Yeah.
And we're going to untangle those and identify what our core values are. We're going to identify what our belief systems are. And that's not just about faith. That's, what we believe about, transportation or
literally anything. Literally anything.
Yeah, that these belief systems that we live by form how we navigate life. And sometimes we come to these places where we're just really frustrated. We feel a bit stuck. We're like, okay, I've been doing this my whole life, and now I don't really know who I am or where I should go or what I should do. And I forgot how to dream about anything. I forgot what I even like anymore.
Yeah.
And it's usually because we've gotten so stuck into programmings or a belief system in how we live that when we don't engage that and challenge it, grow it, evolve it, then we often come to these stuck places.
Right.
So the mastermind is designed to take a group of women together through that journey and dream big.
Yeah.
Make what once felt impossible very, very possible.
Yeah.
And also bring you personal liberation to live the kind of life that you want to be living rather than the one you feel like you're supposed to be living. So which woman is this for? I could essentially say it's for all women, but I think those who feel very stuck in a small box around how they're supposed to see the world, how they're supposed to see themselves. Maybe you feel oppressed in some way by the culture or
held back, pushed down, chained. all the words, right?
Yeah. So that that at the end of this, and hopefully even before the end of this, that you're going to feel a great sense of liberation and hope, and feeling like you can take on whatever dream you come up with. I am finishing my NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming certification here shortly. I'm in the middle of testing right now. So this is all going to be integrated in there. So we're not looking at 7 years of new habits and setting, goals for the next, 5 years kind of thing. We're looking at really
attacking these things.
Yeah, we're going to really have some strong breakthroughs all the way through every month of this program. So you can go to my website, jessicatravis.com. That's JESSICAH.
The H is important.
TRAVIS.com /Unleashed Mastermind. And that will get you to the page with all the information. I do have some special perks, pricing, and little extra add-ons that will go away on the 16th of August. So this is... the price will go up after that. So if this is something that interests you, you can reach out to me through DM or email or, any of those avenues that you see on
DM
my
website.
You
through Instagram?
Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram handle is?
At Jessica Travis. So you'll find
with
out
an H.
with an H. And yeah, I'd be happy to even jump on a quick call and, talk through whether or not this is the right program for you. I'm looking for keeping this somewhat small. I'm looking for 15 women to go through this journey together and spend the next 7 months in a beautiful sisterhood around, personal liberation. So yeah, I'd love to have you there if that sounds like it's up your alley.
I think it sounds awesome. So, yeah, Karens. I think that's where we left off. No, in just thinking about all of this, and it's like, there is a part of it where, I'm not going to speak for you. I'm learning to try not to do that. I'm learning to try not to do that. That's the best I can do right now.
One of the beautiful things that I am learning about language is that we use far more words than we need to.
Yes.
So just drop that word.
Okay.
I am learning to.
Yes, to not speak for you.
Okay, there you go.
And
just drop the try.
Got it. I just wanted to be honest. But for me, I am very quick to look down on people for ridiculous beliefs. Like, I'm very quick to that. I'm very quick to judge, very quick to, that kind of thing. And, I think some of that is, there's a lot of people that would listen and say, yeah, of course, because there's some stupid fucking people out there. And there's some really stupid fucking ideas out there, that are just, they're ridiculous. And they're,
ridiculous.
Did I say ridiculous or did I say ridiculous?
You said ridiculous.
I meant ridiculous. And so, there's a part of it where there, I'm sure I'd have plenty of company that would say, of course, yeah, listen, you're fine, that sort of thing. But there is this whole other thing too. It's like, just what you were talking about. All of our beliefs come from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And there's this part of that, where I recognize being I don't want to use this word, but I'm going to use it just because it's the laziest word I can use right now, that I have been a victim of belief systems, for a lot of my life, and it's just those belief systems that are just handed to you. You don't have a lot of engagement with them. They're just handed to you. You don't know how to think any different way. It's just the way things are, and it's the black and white kind of stuff like you were talking about. It's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. There isn't another way. This is just the way it is. Right. And I had to, work really hard to come to a place where I could even challenge some of those belief systems, and some of those belief systems, I challenge them and they hold up fairly well. So I keep them. And then other belief systems, I challenge them and they just crumble to ash. And I'm like, okay, that one obviously isn't worth keeping. But, and it wasn't just me choosing to work real hard. There were some absolute kicks in the gut that forced me to reconsider some belief systems too, mm-hmm. right? I had that experience too, where I was like, it was like, no. It's time for you to look deeper at this. And you can either stick your head in the sand and ignore everything, or you can just face that, you're being challenged on this belief right now and go with it and actually go through the process and see where it leads you, kind of thing. Right. And there's a lot of people that just have never been given those opportunities, And I say that somewhat kind of loosely because I think we have to look for opportunities too, but how do you even know to look for an opportunity, And so when you're talking about having grace, I'm like, my God, I don't have any grace. I have a lot of reaction to people that have,
I put myself in that camp too. I mean, you see me in stores. I'm like,
you're like Walmart.
You're like, maybe you need to NLP yourself to like Walmart. Because there's this process where you can take a like and move it to a dislike, and it's just a matter of minutes. And you,
that's
like,
right. That's right.
It's pretty.
And you're like, no,
I don't want to.
I don't want to. I I like this hang up I have.
Yeah.
But there is a part of it where it's like, okay, well, even the things that I believe today, at what point in the future, if I were to live forever, like if existence just went on forever, would it be 10 years? Would it be 50 years? Would it be 1,000,000 years before I look back on my current beliefs and I'm like, oh, you are so wrong.
Oh, we do that all the time though.
I know, but this is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so if you learn to hold lightly, the thing that I find myself getting honestly most frustrated with and most irritated with, and this is very spiral dynamics here, is people who I used to believe like them. Yeah. That's who I get so frustrated with. And so, man, if I'm just honest about that, then I'm like, well, shit, that's less about them and their beliefs, and it's more about my own issues with myself then too, right?
Well, the difference really comes to self-awareness, and some of us learn the hard way that we have to become self-aware, and that's even something that is a word. You and I grew up self-aware was not a word we understood, practiced, or even contemplated.
Yeah.
But being self-aware is that how is what I'm doing affecting my life? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it bringing me good? If I keep doing this thing over and over again, does it actually produce what I'm hoping it produces?
Yeah.
But I think some of us come from cultures or just family structures where that isn't something that is taught or encouraged. You and I came from cultures that behavior modification was taught and encouraged. And that's very different than self-awareness.
Yeah.
So then when we see people only operating out of behavior and not out of self-awareness, it becomes really frustrating to us because we're constantly doing this work of evaluating, is my thinking good? Is it good for me? Is it good for you? Is it good for the planet? Right. Yeah, I think the thing that frustrates you and I the most as we travel around has been people's inability to notice that what they're doing is actually affecting someone else. So if they want to just stop in the aisle and talk on their phone and
with their cart turned sideways so no one can get around them,
and they don't give a hoot who's around them or how it's affecting anyone. I think that's the one thing.
A hoot?
Okay.
Really? That's the best you can come up with? Come on, babe.
No, I'm in rebellion.
They don't give a what?
I'm in rebellion to your F-bombs.
I know you were thinking it, though.
Yes, I was. I was choosing carefully.
Did I use up all the F-bombs at the beginning of this episode?
So I can't use any.
So we have a quota.
Yeah, you did. Used them all. Can't sprinkle them throughout the episode.
I just snorted it. That's how ludicrous that idea is to me. I snorted at it.
Yeah.
The second one was on purpose, by the way.
Anyway, I'm not even sure what we talked about today.
Oh, yes, you are.
I mean, like, so, I think about it in terms of how do I title this podcast? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You all fucking annoy me. That's what we should title it.
I do know that when my stress or my stress level is high and my energy level is depleted, then that frustration with other humans becomes really high. Yeah. And I noticed it really high when the heat was, raging. Mm-hmm. Also, when we had Asher living in this small space with us and we were kind of tasking ourselves differently, the three of us trying to make life work in a tiny space.
Yep.
All of those things do play a part in how we feel about other humans and how much grace we feel like, we're able to put out there. Sometimes I just need people. I need people to not back up in the road. You know, I mean, I just, you know, I do have an expectation that we're all going to move in the same direction or, you know, that sort of thing. So,
I know. Well, it's okay. So let's talk about that just for a second then. This can't all just be peace, love, harmony. Let's all just accept everybody for where they are. I mean, because there are some things that are actually damaging out there.
Absolutely.
That are actually harmful, that are actually, that we should not accept, you know? So, so where's the line on those things? I mean, like at what point in time do I say, you know, maybe it's not my right to judge anyone, but at the same time, I have to say something about that.
Oh yeah,
you know? And pick the most extreme things. You know, it's, you know, let's say Hitler and the Holocaust. I have to say,
you've been hanging out with Mark.
No, I'm not making a joke. I'm saying it for, like, I'm using it as a real example here. Like, I should have an opinion on Hitler and the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't just say, he's not for me to judge, or that time period. That, who knows what was going on in their minds and their heart. I mean, it's like, okay, so I should have an opinion about that. Again, using a very extreme example, but, you know, or is that it? That it should only be in the very extreme examples. Okay, so give me your thoughts there. What do you think? So, I have my own thoughts. You talk first.
I would ask 3 questions. Is it good for me? Is it good for the other person or for someone else? Mm-hmm. And is it good for the world? That's an ecology check. You know, is what I'm doing, what I believe, what I'm dreaming to have happen, you know, anything that's extended from my being, is it good for me? Is it good for someone else? Is it good for the world? And obviously we're going to have things that not everybody likes what we do or appreciates what we do. But if we can't answer the question yes, then we're actually saying then it does harm me, or it harms someone else, or it harms the world. So for me, I put big things in that category as much as I do small things. I'll put, you know, gun rights in that. Mm-hmm. I'll put justice issues, you know, how we treat or interact or celebrate or build society with multiple peoples of color or non-color or whatever, and that all of these things can go into those 3 questions, and that's, is it a little bit like do unto others as you would have them do unto you? A little bit, but at the same time, I think it's just that.
I think it goes beyond that.
I think it goes beyond it because I can filter through what I think that should be.
Yeah, and I can decide that. Well, I wouldn't mind if that happened to me, so I can justify doing that to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is exactly what I had in mind. Actually, I think of it just in, you know, what I would call the law of love. Which used to be a very, you know, God-centered kind of thing for me. Now it's not anymore. It's just about, like, you know, genuinely caring for myself, another, and all that is in existence, you know? And can I truly say that this is out of, that, you know, I am thinking this thought out of love, or I am doing this thing out of love, or I am engaging with you out of love, or I am, you know, that kind of thing. And if I can't do that, then I probably better find a different way. Yeah. And I think it could be thought of as a very simple kind of litmus test almost, but I think it's incredibly hard to actually live out, because I don't feel like loving people that I am very irritated at.
Well, and I think this was something that popped in my head while you were saying that. I totally believe in love being this like plumb line in life, right? That it is ultimately what we all want and what we all need. But it is a loaded word, and it comes with a lot of pre-assumed experiences and ideas of what it means. I tend to have less hang-ups or filtering of the word good than I do of the word love. So when I can say, is it good for me? Well, I immediately work the opposite. Is it bad for me? You know, I mean, it's kind of a polarized word, right?
Right.
And then is it good for somebody else? So if I completely disagree with you on your political views, I could still make a decision about how to treat you or how to interact with you on, is it good for you?
Right.
And still hold room to have a disagreement. And I can do that on a global setting too, that I don't agree with another country's governmental structures or environmental concerns or whatever it might be. But what I do over here, is it good for them too?
Right.
And it's just a little bit different. I don't know. I find it that I can filter through it a little easier than I can filter through the word love. Ultimately, I do believe in the word love, as you described it.
Yeah.
But I don't get as hung up because I use that.
As I do, is that what you're saying?
No. I don't get as hung up on the word love as I do on the word good.
Oh, right.
Because for me, I love my daughters. Well, I say that, but then this asshole over here does this backing up thing in the middle of an intersection. I can't, it's really hard for me to use the word love there.
Yeah.
But is what I'm going to do next good for them? That's a little bit easier for me to process.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just my own, head game.
Yeah. Can we switch gears?
Yeah, I saw your eyes kind of glaze over there for a second.
They did. I got tired of talking about this. and I'm not ready to talk about road stories yet. I had one other thing that I want to talk about. And that's just kind of nothing material, but
okay.
It's a show we've been watching. Dude, I want to talk about Blackbird a little bit.
Wow, that show, it's like it messes with you.
It totally does. But there's also like a teeny tiny little tie-in with what we've been talking about too.
Yeah,
I think.
Absolutely.
But this show, I don't know if anybody else has seen it.
It is not for children. It is
Good God, no.
You need a little bit of a strong stomach for this one.
Yeah, it is vile in every way. And
well, I wouldn't go there. It's it's a criminal mind.
Yeah,
you're
but
jumping it. Yeah,
I feel dirty after watching it sometimes.
Yeah.
Because, and I think you're supposed to. That's the point of it.
Yeah.
So, it's on Apple TV, and love to hear if anybody else has been watching it too, because we could do like some discussions about it. But it's all about this this guy who was kind of a charismatic, kid and, well liked and,
a player.
all that kind of stuff. And, again, just charismatic and didn't have any enemies or anything like that. But got into selling drugs, got very successful at it. Yeah. And then it got caught and got sent to prison and then got this opportunity to basically not go to work like he's being paid, but to go to a different prison on behalf of like the FBI to try to coax out of this serial killer where he hid one particular girl's body. I think they're just looking for just this one in particular girl.
They're looking for, there's 12 total that they think
they were really just, I think if I remember right, they were just really looking for the one. That's like, they really wanted to know where he buried this one body. And if he does this, then they'll commute his, drug sentence and he'll get out and, that sort of thing. And so he agrees to do it. And it's just this dark hole he goes down in like making friends with this guy so that he'll, open up to him about, and it's the whole process of him opening up. And
basically he's like an undercover cop, except he's not a cop.
No.
He's in prison and,
right.
And he has to manage prison on top of that. So it's just this really complex layer upon layer kind of story.
It's just brilliantly done.
Well, and the guy who plays the quote unquote murderer in the show is, brilliant. He should get some kind of an award because I am just blown away by his ability to create this character like this.
To creep us the fuck out.
Yeah.
I mean, like seriously creepy kind of stuff. It says on there, it's all based on a true story. I don't know the history of that. Yeah. How closely they stick to it. But man, is it wild. But they kind of dig into the, a little bit of his history and childhood to kind of show you some of like the abuse that he suffered and the crazy shit that his dad made him do, like, you know, grave robbing and stuff like that. And that really like formed this ability for him to just become this cold-blooded killer, you know?
Yeah. A cold-blooded killer that nobody believes is a killer. It's
yeah.
very complex.
It's
like,
so complex. It's so complex. But
yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to, give up any spoilers or anything like that. But I just couldn't, like, we have been like there's episodes release on Fridays, and this coming
we're
Friday.
All caught up now.
Yeah, this coming Friday is the finale, and we're like, what's gonna happen, kind of thing. You know, it's so intense, and so anyway, it was just on my mind.
Well, and I do think Apple has done a brilliant job of storytelling in the shows that they have released in different, storylines, but just the ability, and I think that's what's fascinating. It's not such a normal show.
Yeah.
None of these ones that we've been watching on Apple are. They're very different, but how they unfold story, become storytellers. Stranger Things sits in that category too, about storytelling, but it's very engaging. Yeah.
But with like the Apple TV Plus shows, there's only been like a few that we haven't like been really into.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think we've hated any of them. There's just been a few that were kind of like, we kind of just don't get back to them or something like that, So anyway,
maybe Apple TV Plus will sponsor our podcast now that we've talked about them.
Yes. Oh, and our podcast is on Apple, so we're like halfway there.
Oh my goodness.
We're halfway to a sponsorship with Apple TV. So
Road Stories.
Oh, it's time. It's time now. It's time for the road stories.
Okay, I've got one.
Yeah, I think you should definitely go first.
So we were driving to up to Issaquah from the Portland area ish. And
Issaquah is a suburb of Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah. And in order to get there, you have to go, for the most part, you have to go up towards Olympia and towards Tacoma. You kind of veer off before you get to Tacoma, but it's a main highway stretch and
loaded with traffic.
So much traffic. And so it's we're actually headed up that direction now, but we decided to take the coast because we didn't want to hit that traffic again. And so we're driving along, and we were trying to make it to a dinner reservation up at the Well and Table in Issaquah, which is the restaurant that Jason from the Drunk Ex-Pastors owns.
Yeah. Christian works there too.
Yeah. And so we were headed that way, and we gave ourselves plenty of time, but honestly, the traffic was enough that we were getting a little close, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like all of it comes to a dead stop. And just the way the road was, you couldn't see who was holding up traffic, like if it was an accident or something like that.
But it was just like sitting still.
But but you could see further up the road that there were no cars on the highway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
is there a wreck? Is there something?
We're just going to be stuck here. Or what asshole thinks that the freeway is for 20 miles an hour? Anyway, I wasn't being judgmental at all.
No.
So then all of a sudden you hear it.
Yeah.
And you hear these two cars just like revving engines and going, and then you
super high RPMs.
And then you just see them take off into that dead zone that we were witnessing. I'm like, oh, now this is interesting.
They were street racing on the freeway, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. And so then I get my phone out and I'm going to try and video. And I've got a little bit of video, but it's not as interesting as the first one. But then they stop all the traffic again and they hold it back.
Well, because they catch up to the traffic ahead of them. And so when they catch up, they slow down. They're seriously like 15, 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Until they get a big, huge gap, and then they take off racing again.
Yeah.
They must have done this like
4 times.
4 times. Yeah.
That we could see.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty funny.
It was funny. It was funny, and like I was between like pissed off and thinking, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
At the same time, I didn't know which way to go with it.
You're having fun, and you're kind of like, I want to just have fun out here. Yeah.
Yeah. But look what you're doing to all of these people who are backed up behind you,
Oh, and the number of Teslas that we saw on that stretch right there. It was unreal. Like, seriously, we were not driving without seeing a Tesla somewhere.
No, they were everywhere.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my road story.
Okay, my road story is far less funny. It's just, and really it's not even much of a story so much as it is just, it was so irritating.
Yeah,
and
it goes along with our conversation,
and
actually.
then it brings up this whole other, topic that we could probably have a whole conversation about. But so we were coming through, I almost said Bend, but it wasn't Bend.
Hood.
No, Hood River. That's where it was. And they kind of have, even though Hood River's way smaller, they have similar feels. Bend and Hood River do a little bit. No, you don't think so? Okay, anyway.
I don't know. I didn't spend enough time.
I think they've kind of got like lots of breweries and,
I did
else.
laundry in Bend, and that was it. So I don't really know. You went to the stores while I did laundry.
Okay. Anyway, whatever. So, Hood River's kind of, known for its breweries, and there's a couple of kind of, at least P&W famous breweries there. And
I personally think Hood is overrated, but that's just my opinion.
okay,
Hood
especially
River,
after
sorry.
this, right?
Yeah.
So we stopped there for lunch, and we stopped at this brewery that we haven't been to before, and so we go up to it, and there, first of all, it's at the top of these stairs, and so we go up there, and it's this big outdoor seating area, and it was fairly cool. So wind was blowing, lots of shade.
Coolness we'd felt.
And so we're like, oh, this is kind of nice, And then they did have an indoor seating spot, but it was small, and the outdoor seating was massive. So
right.
We're like, okay, we'll sit out here. And the first thing I see is there's a sign against the building with a window there, and it says "Order food here," and then the other one said "Pick up food here." And I was like, okay, it's one of those. So then I go up there, and as I'm kind of standing in line waiting to order our food, I'm looking around, and there's signs, like multiple signs around this place saying, "Please bus your own tables." Like,
you can eat inside or indoor dining available, but you will need to bus your tables.
Yeah, and outside in the outdoor seating space, like signs, like all over the place.
Yeah.
Please bus your own tables. And I was like, okay, they're really concerned with us busing our own tables. Got it. Okay, I understand.
We will bus our own table.
So I go up and order our food, and and with our food, we both I get a beer, you get a mocktail, because you didn't feel like drinking, and so you got a mock mule is what it was. And they hand us this buzzer. And they say, when your buzzer goes off, go to the next table, next window, pick up your food, and then you can take it back to your table, right? And then, okay, so, and then they flip around the iPad after they ask for my payment, and it says just a few questions there for you. And the only not a few questions, just one question: would you like to tip 25%, 20%, or 18%? And then way down, like in the small little button, it said custom tip. There was no tip. It was just 25, 20, 18, or custom tip, And so what's going through my mind is, okay, let me get this straight. I walk up to this window, and I have to order my own food. Mm-hmm. I'm given a buzzer, and then I have to go pick up my own food, right? Mm-hmm. Then when I'm done eating, I have to clear my own table and put away all my own things, right? Mm-hmm. On top of that, you just charged me $48 for a pork sandwich, a salad. That's what you had, is a salad, a beer, and a mocktail. Okay, $48 for that. And I'm like, and now you're asking me for a 25% tip? Mm-hmm. Are you fucking kidding me?
And you're asking for the tip before I've even tasted any of this food or had my beer.
Or had my service. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not tipping based on anything. I'm like nothing has happened yet. And you're asking me to tip you just because. Then not only that, but the tip just kind of, I guess, goes into like the general fund, and I don't know who's getting the tip. I don't know if it's the person that took my order or gave me my order, which
or the chef,
were the only two interactions I had, right? And so who am I tipping here, right? Or is it just kind of get spread around equally and all that kind of stuff? And I'm like, I know that there has been this thing that, hey, food service workers aren't treated fairly. They're not, they're usually underpaid by companies because they get tips. And so you want to tip them well so that they can, and I'm like, my issue is not with any of the people that are behind the counter. The people that are going to get that tip anyway, my issue is not with any of them. Oh my God, I was sitting there getting increasingly irritated at this brewery. First of all, for charging me almost $50 for
a salad and a sandwich,
a beer, and a mocktail.
No, that's kind of on us. We ordered it.
No. I get it. I'm just saying that it's like, the prices at these breweries have just been like going up like crazy. And I'm like, and your beer, you don't even have like shipping costs in it. Like you literally brew it right here. It's like there's no,
but you're wholesale right here.
But you're still charging like premium prices for all this. Okay, fine. You're going to charge premium prices for that. Then treat this like a premium experience, and have like show some customer service, or something, instead of having me order like from a window and then I pick up at a window, and then you expect me to pay premium prices, but then you set up this whole tipping system because let's be honest, you're not paying your staff enough. So you're expecting me to pay, to make up the difference in their wage, but then you're not even giving them the opportunity to, and I'm going to say this and I hope it's not taken the wrong way, to earn that tip, right? Because there is this thing
with tipping
that's what, and I might just be showing my age here, but it's I think it's gotten so fucking ridiculous now to where like you can go through a fast food drive-through and there's a tipping line.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I literally drove through the line and you handed me a bag of my food.
And I'm lucky if I get it right.
Yeah. So everything from that point back should be, I think, wages provided by the company that is performing this. Otherwise, you are, as a company, you are saving yourself all of this money on wages that you can just put as profits into your pocket because you can charge premium prices for your food like this brewery did. And I know it was $50. It wasn't $100. I get that, but still it was a pork sandwich and a salad,
Yeah.
So you're charging premium prices for your food. You've got this, this great location, all that kind of stuff. You pay your employees like shit because the customers are going to tip them anyway. That's just more. That's more to the bottom line for these corporations. I'm not pissed at the employees working there. I think this whole fucking capitalist kind of bullshit out of these companies like this is getting out of hand. Pay your employees what they deserve. Pay them a fucking living wage, and don't ask for tips.
And I guarantee you
especially if you're not going to put them in a service position.
Yeah.
If they're going to be in a service position and you're going to pay them a living wage and then treat it kind of like a commission almost on top of that, where they can make an even greater wage by giving excellent customer service, and then I tip them on top of it, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. But don't fucking handcuff them behind a counter, pay them shit, which again, I'm assuming they're not paid a living wage, and then expect me to give above and beyond your premium prices for nothing.
Yeah. Well, it made me think about when we used to work for the running stores. We could spend well over an hour with a customer depending on what it was that they needed. We were making what the employer paid us. We were not making tips or any of that. Right. But we spent a much greater amount of time and quality with a customer doing that than what we experienced at Fremont Brewing.
Yeah.
And that was...
It wasn't Fremont.
Yes, it was.
No.
It was free something.
I know. I can't remember.
Fremont
I'm going to have to look it up right now. Keep going. But I just want to make sure we're not saying, because they're, yeah.
because I thought I had a Fremont salad. I think that's what it was called or something like that. Anyway.
You may be right. Let me look really quick.
But my point being that that there are a lot of mom and pop stores, restaurants, that type of thing, that have a much deeper level of customer interaction and relationship building in the process and service and all of the things that a customer might be able to get from that kind of service interaction, and no tips are involved in that. In fact, if we had been asking customers at the running store for tips for what we did, that would have been like, are you kidding me? Nobody would shop with us. But yet,
and I don't know. We regularly had people offer tips, and we would be like, no.
But if the expectation was that you tip someone for getting you tennis shoes, then that would be weird, right? And yet it's still a service industry. I know it's not hospitality, but so it's really hard for me to wrap my brain. I probably, if it had been me, I know you went ahead and tipped $5.
I tipped way under. Because I was so, it was like angry tipping.
No, I would have made a point tipping, and I would have done 5 cents.
I know, because it's not the company that pays for that. That was my issue with it. It was like, you're putting me in this position where if I make a statement, the company doesn't even feel it. It's the employee who feels it.
They will over time. When the employees are saying, "Hey, I'm not making anything off of tips. This doesn't work for me anymore." It eventually will come that way.
It's Ferment Brewing.
Ferment?
Yes.
Okay. Let's write alphabet letters.
Yes, yeah. You were very
Just
close.
reordered.
Ferment Brewing. They had a good beer. It was a good sandwich. It was just the experience.
The salad was good, but
the experience was so frustrating.
That tainted us forever going there again.
Yeah. I certainly am not. It's not on my list.
And then the next night we went to dinner with Mark and Christy, and it was a pizza place. I forget what it was called.
Yeah.
Anyway, in Vancouver, and not as high end food. Quality or whatever. It's not like a brewery. It was kind of a chain place. But the service from the waitress at that one was amazing.
Yeah,
and we left going, yeah, of course we're going to tip her. She worked hard. She had, like 6 tables going at once, and she was juggling it, and she had a great attitude about the whole thing.
Yeah.
That felt like a completely different experience.
Yeah. So anyway, that was,
your road story was a little bit
my
more
road
painful.
story. Yes.
Painful. Maybe we balance each other out.
This is irritating me here too. I'm trying to look up what their salaries are right now, and so I just pulled up the first thing here. It was Glassdoor, and Glassdoor is like forcing me to add a review before I can even look at their website.
So they tip before you eat, and they want a review before you see.
That's right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. There, I just submitted it so that now I can go back, hopefully, and see the information that I was trying to see in the first place. No, it didn't. Oh, my God. This thing is so irritating right now. So I can't, I'll have to look it up later, and then I can make a correction if they do pay their employees incredible, because that may be a real thing. I don't know.
And if it does, then you really don't have to feel guilty for not tipping. But the fact that they don't, offer you the option to not tip.
Right.
Most places offer you at least that.
Jesus Christ. I just did a thing for a review real quick, and then I go back to the site and it says, well, you need to submit another review.
You need another tip. Please tip us more before proceeding.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway,
Road Stories.
We could be done with that. So, where are we going to be next week when we record?
Well, I know we're headed to Olympic National Park.
Yeah.
We are wanting to see the largest spruce tree in the world. We haven't done that yet. We've been on the outer edge of the park, like beach side of everything.
Yeah.
Coastal side of both sides. But we haven't really explored anywhere inside. So that's our hope, is to get in there. And depending on how thick the forest is, may depend on where we're actually at when we record, because, I do need me some north-facing internet access.
We do. We can't be too thick in the woods on that. Yeah.
So not necessarily when we record, but when I have my calls and stuff. So
That's right.
Anyway, yeah, that's where we're headed, is into the Olympic
At the
National
base of Mount Olympus.
Sounds so great.
The Mount of the Gods. I think that's, I wonder if we'll have any special experiences there. You think so?
I don't know. I'm expecting some road stories.
All right.
They can be epic.
They could be.
Epic.
They could be.
They don't have to be, tipping stories.
Right. There could be some. I mean, I don't really want to get into this right now, but we're exploring some potential changes in the near future.
Yeah.
I might have an opportunity that I'm kind of excited about. We'll talk about that later if it actually happens. So there's this whole thing where it's like that's our plan right now, but it could wildly change by next episode. I mean, wildly change. I don't know.
We were kind of on hold there for a little bit, trying to stay close to Spokane in case we got the bid on the ambulance, which we didn't, and we got outbid. And so we just have a lot of different avenues things could go. So we say this is where we're headed, but will we actually be there when we record? I don't know.
Yeah.
Adventure ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I know is that we have to stay out of really hot temps.
Yeah, we do. oh, I just remembered.
We don't have to worry about cold temps right now. Just really hot temps.
The stickers are on their way for our patrons.
Yeah.
So, and I'll post a picture of them when they arrive.
So be sure to check out our Patreon page.
And I may have some bonuses, a little extra bonus that's coming with that shipment.
Yeah.
For, like the first, 20 people who sign up. I have a little extra gift.
Oh my.
So, yeah. So anyway, we still have that up and running, and we will shout out on every episode if you become a patron member.
We will.
And, I don't know. We'll do something.
Cheers. We'll cheers you.
Cheers, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll go streak the campsite.
Yeah, and, if you want to leave us your favorite.
You didn't even respond to that.
Your what?
I'll go streak the campsite for every patron.
I didn't respond because that doesn't surprise me. Should we have an episode talking about the pirate?
We could, yeah. It wouldn't bother me one bit.
Yeah.
I have streaked many countries, actually, so.
Yeah.
That seems like a good place to end this episode.
Yeah,
How
let's
about
do that?
All right. Hey, we'll see you next week, everybody.